Hi there, I'm Sheila Palmquist. I'd really hoped to meet you all in person, but we're adapting, aren't we? So I wrote a program called Take 5, and our nonverbal sign for Take 5 is just the letter T5, and that just lets somebody know that you just need some time to regroup. It's also a great way to remind others that there are things that they can do when they're feeling stressed and frustrated, and just like they're just not sure what to do. And we notice that by what our body does, right? And so some of the things that we're going to be learning is just really tuning into what is my body telling me, and how do I try to calm my body, my mind, my breath, all of those things, so that I react in a way that's helpful instead of harmful or hurtful. So the first thing we're going to start with is open and close my book. So our hands come out in front, and we're taking our palms and opening towards our heart. Backs of our hands come together, and we dive them straight down, and then we come back up and out and close. We're going to add our breath with that. So breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, and breathing back out. And the idea behind this, or one of our positive affirmations, right, is to bring in what you need. So maybe that's healing, forgiveness, letting go of what you don't need. So maybe that's negativity, self-doubt, and then filling up your heart, taking care of yourself, so that then you can help others. So we know that we feel better when we're being of service and helping others, but we have to take care of ourselves first. So let's try that again. Deep breath in, long breath out, deep breath in, and long exhale. Good. And it also reminds us that we can change our story, right? We get to write this book and this story of how, where our choices are going to take us along the way. So our next posture that we're going to work with is tree. And so we want to shift the weight to one side and turn this knee out if that's okay for your hips. So none of these things should hurt. So make those adjustments based on how your body feels in this moment. We know that that changes all the time too. So that's what I love about this practice, is you can pull some of these things out if you only have a short time, or if you're just not feeling like you have that much energy, or you can make it longer if you have lots of energy that day. So with tree, we remember that we're rooting, right? So always keeping that connection to what's below all of our layers of flooring here, right? To the earth. So doing this outside if possible is amazing. And so picking up the other foot, and be patient with yourself. So first it teaches us patience. Find a spot that won't move, right? So energy flows where awareness goes. So if I'm watching someone else and it's windy in their tree and they're falling over, I'm going to follow along. And part of tree teaches us to keep our balance when those around us are losing theirs, right? So again, taking care of ourselves so that we can help others. So find your stability, your roots, your trunk, right, of your tree. Find your breath. That is like your sunlight. And so once you're breathing and you feel stable, and maybe you stay here, and maybe you have a day where you're like, well, okay, I've checked in and I'm not very balanced today. So maybe that changes some of the decisions that you make that day. And then arms coming up overhead if you want to grow your branches. Continue to breathe and keep your eyes focused. And then slowly coming down. Grounding again. And then shifting the weight. Find your roots. Find your trunk. Placing the other foot. You can keep your toes down. You can bring them up. You can skip over your knee and come higher. I've seen people practice tree this way. My knee and hip don't like that so well, so I come back down here. And take time, right? We're pushing our foot and our leg against each other. I'm gauging my stability in my trunk, those muscles. So be patient with yourself and focus on the things that you can do. Making sure that inner voice is positive. If it's not, then it can be quiet, right? Be encouraging or be quiet. And then slowly coming back down. There's our tree. The next thing we're doing is our up and down. So, getting the feet a little bit wider, again making sure you're solid in your stables, in your mountain pose. You're solid and stable in your mountain pose. So this is called mountain or Tadasana, or standing. So shifting weight a little bit, finding that base of the mountain. Inhale, arms come up overhead. Exhale, come down like you're sitting on an imaginary chair. Again, do what's comfortable for your knees. If here is better today, some of you may be able to come here. We're never competing or judging in this practice. Inhale, we come back up. Exhale, forward fold, and it's perfectly fine to bend your knees a little bit. Tucking the chin. Inhale, little bend in the knees, coming back up. And we do it again. Down, up, down, and back up. And the breath is exhale, inhale, exhale, and inhale. And maybe that's as much as you practice. If you feel like continuing, the next thing we can do is sun salutations. And anytime something comes up where you're like, I think I want to write about that or talk to someone about that, allow yourself that time, because those are parts of the program too. So our sun salutation, we want to make sure we have room to step back, and our arms are coming up overhead. We're folding forward. Again, if this hurts the back of your legs, bend your knees. Stepping back to our push-up. Our knees come down. We're sitting back in our rock or child's pose. We're sliding forward. Hug the elbows in. Lifting up. This is cobra, so we want to be able to lift the hands and have that not change our posture too much. And then exhale, lower down. Pressing back up. Tucking our toes under and lifting into down dog. And again, knees bent are just fine. And then stepping up and coming back up. Hands come to heart center. So now I'll cue the breath with that. So breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, so our core is engaged, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, and breathing back in. You may even want to add a little hop if that's comfortable for your body. So that would look like this. Forward fold, hopping back to plank, sitting back in child's, sliding forward to cobra, pressing into down dog, and then hopping the feet back up and coming back up to our mountain. So, and you can make different things up as you go, so be creative with this. If you get into child's pose and you feel like, oh, I just want to rest here for a few breaths, do that. Remember your heart opening in your cobra, right? That allows you that space, but it still feels safe and not so vulnerable because you're down on the floor. Our next one is called half moon, and so that stretches the sides of our body. So again, we want to be stable in our mountain. Arms coming up overhead, and grab a hold of one wrist, or you can always interlace the fingers, so it depends on how your shoulders are organized and what's comfortable. Reaching to one side, so sometimes I find that I will stand kind of like this, and then I will feel compression in my low back, And so if I bend my knees slightly and tuck my tailbone under a little bit, then I create more space here. And it allows me to open up this side. So remember, what is your intention for some of these stretches? Well, my intention is to open up this side and not to feel like my low back hurts here. So really be super mindful of what you're sensing in your body. Back up, it does give us the most honest information, but we're really good at ignoring it, right? And we're really good at telling ourselves what we don't want instead of what we do want. Arms coming back up, grabbing a hold of the other wrist. I'm gonna go ahead and bend my knees and tuck my tailbone under, just to release my back a bit more, and then come over to this side. And I'm pressing down through my opposite foot, right? So finding that lift and length in that side, be sure you're breathing. When we hold our breath, that signals to the body that something is wrong, and the mind, right? And we go into our fight or flight mode, so we want to be sure that we're breathing. Back to center, arms coming down, and just take a moment. Notice how much more space you have to allow you to breathe a little bit deeper. So the breath affects the way we think, the way our body heals, the way we react, all kinds of things. So the next one is one of my favorites, and it's called Happy Elephant, and I do this one just randomly throughout the day. This is a really good one for me when I feel frustrated or upset, to just kind of shake things off or let them go, and it's playful and fun, and so that helps me to not have my emotions have such a grip on me, right? If I can just say, okay, I need to move some of this energy and shake some of it off. So our feet come out a little bit wider than hips width, and then our arms are like giant elephant ears. And we're going to swing to one side. Be sure you're lifting that opposite heel so that we're not stopping the rotation in our backs. And just let the arms hang. Right? If you had giant ears, they'd just be swinging back and forth. You're also getting the added benefit of tapping here in the area of our body where we tend to hold a lot of emotion, right? So when I'm upset, I tend to get a stomach ache. So it affects our digestion. So letting things go, right? Shaking them off. And then slowing it down. And stepping the feet in. And maybe closing the eyes or just looking down and noticing, how do your arms feel? What's going on through your fingertips? Did that change your heart rate, right? Good. The other thing that does is our arms are an extension of our heart. So when we're feeling upset, right, our hearts feel heavy. And so to take your arms out and swing your arms back and forth can really help with letting some of that move and letting go of depression, right? Or if when we're guarding, sometimes we do this, or we round. I apologize for the construction in the business next door to me. And now from here, let's go ahead and do eagle. So this is another balancing pose, and so we're bending our knees slightly and opening our arms like giant wings, and kind of thinking of coming in and landing, right? So I'm going to do opposites. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap my leg, and then this arm on top. And some of you might be here with your wings. Some of you might be able to tuck this foot all the way behind. My body can't do that. Or maybe you put your kickstand down, right? And we bend the knee a little bit. And we take some breaths here. So eagles have great eyesight, and so this helps us with our peripheral vision, looking around our hands. And it's also giving me a great stretch across my upper back. And remember, our heart sits in the center, so this is kind of another way of opening our heart, just from the backside. And when you're ready, coming back out, stepping down. It's kind of a warming pose, so you might feel like, whew, fresh kind of movement or blood flow when you unwind from your eagle. And then we do the other side, so always coming into balance. So I'm going to wrap this leg around, and then I'm going to wrap this arm on top. Okay, and sinking down. Again, using peripheral vision, looking around my hands. sturdy, stable, really cultivating that eagle within. And then unwind. And just take a moment to notice. The next posture that we'll practice is Warrior Two. So we're stepping the feet out. We have 3 warrior poses. This is our side-facing one. We're bending this knee. And so we can come back a little bit more, but we really don't want our knee out over our ankle. We'll feel all the pressure in our knee. And so then our arms come out. So finding your stability here. So really engaging. I'm squeezing the muscles in my legs, like I'm bringing my feet in towards one another. And if this is too much on your shoulders, so when I hold my stress, I tend to bring my shoulders up. So I would turn my palms up and bend my elbows a little bit, just to create a little bit more space here, right? So I don't feel like I'm trying so hard here. So our grounded, confident warrior with open heart, right? And that breath helps us to think better. So we want a clear mind to make good choices as well. From our Warrior Two, it's a nice way to set us up and take us into our triangle. So we can straighten this front leg. Try not to lock out your knee if you tend to do that. And then tip. And you can see here that we're making about 3 different triangles with our body. We've got the one big one with our feet and our hand at the top. We've got our legs, and then we've got this little triangle here too as well. Again, do what works for you. So if it's more comfortable to bend your knee a little bit and come here, or if your shoulder's bothering you, maybe you bring this arm down, right, or alongside the body. So make those adaptations for how your body is feeling. Making sure, again, you're not competing, but you're doing what's best for you in this moment. And that will help us in other areas of our lives to do the same thing. So switching sides, starting with Warrior Two, bending that knee, and finding the breath. And then moving into triangle. And you can take your gaze up towards the fingertips, which will affect your balance a little bit. Or you can turn your head down if you feel like you need a little bit more grounding. Right? If my mind is very busy and there's lots of stories going on that I'm telling myself, I will turn my gaze down and try to really think about rooting into the earth and calming some of those thoughts. Right? If I'm feeling a little sleepy and I want a little uplift, I might turn my gaze up, or you can be anywhere in between. Bending the knee, being mindful of coming out of the posture, so getting in and out just as important as the postures, right? The journey, not the destination. And then from here, I usually heel toe in, but you can step the feet in, and then we'll come into cat-cow. So again, maybe you would stop right there and that would be your practice. We're just going to keep going so that this matches up with the handout. And so we're coming down to cat-cow. So I get stable in my table posture. And so you want your hands to come a little bit forward. If you line up your shoulders and your wrists, that's a little too much bend in your wrists. If your wrists do bother you, sometimes putting the heels of your hands up on something can be helpful. Right? We don't usually recommend this one because that can be kind of dangerous. We don't want to break anyone's wrists. So coming here, having something under your knees if your knees bother you. And here we go, flexion, extension of the spine. So on the exhale, we're coming into cat. On the inhale, I'm coming into cow. So it's not just low back. This part of our body bends pretty easily. But we want to think about our heart. So I'm thinking of my heart lowering towards my hands. And then when I come back into cat, right, I'm pulling my heart back towards my shoulder blades, tucking my tail, tucking my chin. And then moving back into that cow. And when I move into cow, I'm thinking of extension all the length from my navel to my chin. So do I feel that stretch in the front of the body? And we come back to table. From here, we'll do down dog and up dog. So that takes that a little bit further. So down dog. And then up dog. You can always put your knees down here. One more time, down dog. Transitioning into up dog. And then we come into rock. This is my favorite for anxiety if I'm feeling anxious, right? For depression, you notice I talked about doing this and opening up this way. For anxiety, we come in. That means we're feeling overwhelmed and we just need to calm everything down. So coming down to the ground and just imagining you're a rock, right? So whatever's happening on around you, whatever storm is going on, you can weather the storm. You just let it roll off. So this is one of my favorites. And if my mind is busy, it helps to get my head all the way down to help kind of ground and bring some of those stories that I'm telling myself, because a lot of times they're not stories that are necessary. You always have the option of bringing your arms out or resting your head. If you rest your head on your arms, just try not to put too much of a bend in the back of your neck, right? We want more of this extension rather than flexion there in your cervical spine. If you need more space, if this feels claustrophobic to you, you can widen, or you can always put a pillow or something and come over that as well. For people whose knees bother them, right? You don't have to sit all the way back if that bend in your knees is uncomfortable. And you can even do this on your back and bring your knees into your chest if that is better. All right, so from rock, we're going to go ahead and do our buzzing bee breath. This is one that I will use just by itself sometimes. Really good for anxiety for me. So finding a comfortable seated posture, and you could be in a chair. I've done this in my car, so whenever you need to. And so the noise that we're making is, right, a little bit deeper than a hum. Sorry, I have pieces of hair in my eyes. And we're doing that with the mouth closed. And we're also going to take away sight and sound, if that's okay. If that seems uncomfortable or too vulnerable, don't worry about it. Just leave it. So the thumbs go this piece of cartilage of our ears, right? We just close the ears and we lay the fingers gently over the eyes. We're going to breathe in and then make that noise with the mouth closed, the hum, right? Seems silly, but we'll do it as long as we can. Take another breath in and do a second breath, and then we'll bring the hands down to the knees and just notice how you feel. So for me, this one reminds me of if my mind is going and thinking about past and future and I'm not being in the present moment. This is kind of like, I think of a snow globe, right? When everything is just kind of spinning around and it brings it all down and lets everything just settle for a little while. So let's give it a try. And if it doesn't work for you today, just try it again another time. So here we go. Gently begin to blink the eyes open if they're closed. And slowly lift your gaze. So that's a really great way to take 5, right? When you're like, I just need to take a break and walk away from this for a moment. It's a really great way to reset. So the next thing we'll do is bridge. So we're coming onto our backs. And with bridge, we're peeling the spine vertebra by vertebra up off of the mat or the floor. And I'm pulling my shoulder blades under. You can interlace your fingers if that's uncomfortable on your shoulders, just keep them down. But I'm keeping my inner thighs engaged, right? So I'm not here, right? And I'm squeezing my muscles to lift my bridge. So I've got this nice length in the back of my neck. I've got this heart opener, right? I've got a nice back bend going on here. I feel sturdy and stable, but it's not easy. I'm working hard. And I'm keeping my head aligned, so as much as I want to turn towards the camera and talk to you, I'm keeping that aligned because turning your head here is not really good for you. You can notice how your abdomen rises and falls when you breathe here. And on an exhale, I'm going to untuck my shoulder blades a little bit and come down, vertebra by vertebra. So trying not to rush. Good. And from here, the last posture in your manual is shoulder stand. But it is a nice place if you feel like, oh, I just want to do a little twist, right? Things like that. Bring your knees into your chest. Like I said before, if you flip your rock over, if it's more comfortable to come here, right? You can do it here. It's not quite as grounding as face down, but feel free to be creative and adapt things. All right, so our shoulder stand, and this is one where we definitely don't want to turn our head from side to side. And your second option is to take arms and legs straight up, or to do half shoulder stand, where we come about here, okay, and we just kind of pike in the middle. Or you can come all the way up. So there's quite a few benefits to being inverted. You can also do this by putting your feet kind of up on a couch or something like that. There's other ways to be inverted that's a little bit more supportive. And then taking your time, coming back down. And then we come into our earth pose. So we take the legs out, the arms out, and just settling in here. I'm going to stop the video here and give you a second one for your guided imagery exercise. So you could just rest here in your earth and check in with breathing, with how your body feels. And I'll record a second video that has the guided imagery in there so that if you just want to do that before bed sometime, you have that option and they're not all connected together.